Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jamie Hernandez, the lead Mackie product specialist and the host of the Ins and Outs podcast with Mackie, which is a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We bring you musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes even the occasional Mackoid. If you're new to Mackie, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite platform to get all the latest Mackie updates as soon as they are out. So thank you all for joining us. Before we dive into it all, I think it's important to tell you a little bit about Mackie if you're new to our brand. So Mackie's a little over 30 years, and we're widely known as a loudspeaker brand. But now we have everything covered from the stage to studio, and now everything in between. This year, we released a new round of products that you can scope out at Mackie.com, including our first round of microphones. So, in fact, if you weren't able to catch them live, our other product specialists, Brad Gagne and Tyvon, go over the entire lineup while showing you how to choose the best mic for your for your podcast, and how to optimize your audio and how to set up your mic interface and even more. So make sure you scope those out. So joining me today in this live segment are two Mackoids you don't necessarily see on camera, but they're crucial to the processes required to make this bi-weekly interview series. So we're going to be discussing our setup, how we choose and work with our guests, and what goes into editing and more. But before we dive into it all, if you're new to Mackie again and you're new to our podcast, here's a quick recap of our season so far.
So I guess really my advice would be, if what you're doing, you're proud of, they will see that and they will watch it and they'll enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hernandez. So good having you here.
Great intro. Thank you very much.
And this is the Ins and Outs with Mackie, a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We'll be bringing you musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid.
I appreciate what Mackie is doing.
Oh, I love this question.
I would not be the producer that I am today if it wasn't for that experience.
We talked a little bit about your video.
Do you want to watch the video together and I'll kind of explain the story about it?
I would love to do that.
I just close my eyes, just listen to the music, and just play.
I always end all my videos with the phrase, keep making the music you love.
'Cause I can't change the way she looks at me.
What did you guys think of that? How awesome. Shout out to Rich, who we're going to actually be talking to, our editor, a bit later on. So I see we have Stephen Phillips back. Thanks for joining us again. Where are you guys from? If you're joining us in right now, please drop in where you're coming from. Maybe drop in your podcast that you host or some of your favorite podcasts too. Without further ado, it brings me great pleasure to actually introduce Rob Puzzitiello, who is the producer of the Ins and Outs podcast. Welcome, Rob.
How's it going?
No problem. Welcome. How you feeling today?
I'm doing good. Hopefully my levels are nice as clean as yours always are. And man, how about that video? That was amazing to see all of that stuff back to back. It was like a People's Choice Award kind of thing.
Definitely, right? Well, Rob, why don't you start by introducing yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Yeah. I'm Rob Puzzitiello. I'm the digital marketing manager at Mackie. So I do all like the social media stuff and, help plan our content calendar and do artist relations. And I'm the producer behind the scenes here of this show. So it's really cool to be at Podcast Movement and have the opportunity to come on and talk to you a little bit about what we do and hopefully everyone watching will ask questions and get some valuable knowledge here today.
Definitely. So we heard from, again, our product specialists, Ty and Brad, who talk about how to choose the right gear for your setup. And they even talk about routing and getting that set up. But today we're going to kind of dive into, taking it to the finish line, right? So you're a show producer. What is the role of a producer for a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say my role is kind of mostly lives in the pre-production responsibilities here. So what I do is I find and book guests who I think would be a good fit for the show. We schedule when we're going to meet with them and also when we're going to release the episode. I work with you to develop the outline and the questions that we ask people. And, of course, there's the fun part where I get to sit here and just try and be quiet during the interview. And, it's nice to at least, behind every episode, Rich and I are here and present. We just don't insert ourselves often, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, awesome. Yeah, I definitely love having you all behind, backing me up, and good to know you're there.
Mhm.
So, this isn't your first time working with this medium, right? How would you say your background lends itself to the way the show works?
Sure. Yeah. Tracking back, it's like I started in college radio. Shout out to Black Squirrel Radio, and that's obviously like a broadcast situation, which is a little different than podcasting, but that's just like where I learned that, especially in a student run radio station where you had like no rules, right? It was just anything that you made of the situation. That was just where I was like, hey, we have this cool platform and people want to be a part of it. So that allowed me to start reaching out to bands and authors and movie stars and anyone who I really wanted to try and strive for to achieve and bring them on the show. I would do that. And I think that's almost a one-to-one applied here because this is an artist interview series, and it's really cool to have the opportunity to pick that up again. So yeah, I'm glad that weird skill set came in handy.
Definitely. I just wanted to answer Steven's asking, what kind of type of people do we pursue? But if you're just joining us, the Ins and Outs is a podcast that interviews musicians, streamers, podcasters. We talk to a lot of nonprofit organizations, pretty much, the voices that need the extra help being amplified. We're going to dive a little bit more into that, Steven, but thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah, anyone really tangential to the audio industry, obviously as like a pro brand, we have a legacy of working with, we've worked with artists who are multi-platinum artists, and then we've also, we've brought on actual Mackoids who use our products and just, have like a modest following, and they're great people to learn from too, and really inspiring. So, if you're a podcaster or a musician, anything in between, it's all kind of up for grabs.
Absolutely. So podcast producer, that's not really a term you hear a lot. I haven't heard it much, for people out there who are listening and doesn't know that that's a field they can work in. How does someone become a podcast producer?
Yeah, I think that you and I are in a really weird, unique situation where part of our jobs are to be hosts and producers of a podcast, because podcasting is just such an infantile medium that we're in, right? It's not like radio and television where there was like schools for it, as they're coming about now, but you had to be licensed to do these things, and there was FCC rules. It was a tried and true profession, and podcasting came about within like the last 15 years, like iPods, podcast. And so to me, there is no barrier of entry to podcasting. It's not as gatekeepy. You are a creator, and oftentimes an independent creator. So I think that, if I could say anything, if you want to be working in podcasting, you really just have to start somewhere and start small. If you have a microphone, that's suitable for those needs, then you can create a show around something you're passionate about. It can be as niche as, underwater basket weaving is like the old moniker or whatever. But yeah, so to me, again, even though a lot of people are catching on to this medium and creating opportunities, there are companies that have their own podcasts. There's like coffee companies that have their own podcasts, but start small, because, you need, there's no one stopping you from doing it, right? That's really how you become a podcaster. You just begin.
Exactly. So why did Mackie make a podcast?
Great question. So yeah, we obviously, Mackie historically is a loudspeaker and live sound company. And this was the first year we went into microphones and completing, the very beginning of the signal chain there, the microphone. And it's no secret that there's this global health situation that prevented us and, brought live sound and concerts and stuff to like a screeching halt. And so we had to think about like, well, how are we going to keep in touch with our users, and whether that's, the entry level user or the high profile person. But I think this podcast, is a way to stay in touch with our base and get to share our platform with people. And it's also just a proof of concept. Here we are using our creator products for what they are intended to do. So lead by example. That's really what we're here to do, and to share information and bridge the gap in this community.
Absolutely. And it's been a fun road for sure. I'd like to give a shout out to Stephen, who has a podcast called Altered Geek. He says, out of the multitude. And we also have Craig James joining us again from Cleveland. Thanks for joining us yet again, Craig. So happy to have you back.
Shout out to Cleveland.
Yeah, Zach David, who was the winner of our gamification giveaway this morning. Thanks for joining us, man. Good to have you all here.
Yeah, Zach got the grand prize package. The CR5 monitors, the new Carbon microphone, all kinds of good stuff.
I just want to mention that we did have two other product specialists, Brad Gagne and Tyvon, also do some previous sessions touching base on how to choose the right gear for your podcast, and even how to get it routed and set up correctly so that you're ready to record and get yourself going. We're actually going to show you the behind the scenes and how we take our podcast to the finish line. So if you're joining us, that's what this segment is covering. So totally. Going back into it. So Rob, let's dig into the format. For people who have never seen our show, we've developed a format that works really well for us. Can you give them a brief layout of what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like sort of where I learned how to just have a conversation with people. I think we present this thing very linearly. We just have a well-rounded like conversation with our guests where we bring them on, we introduce them, we talk about their background and like how they got started in this industry as, a musician or an influencer, etc. What were their breaking points, or rather like breakthrough points, what led to them being successful, lessons learned along the way. We get to observe their work and talk about current and future projects. And oftentimes if they're an artist, they'll perform for us, which is like really exclusive and unique. And, or they'll, maybe if they're like, they're teaching people, they'll show like the people they've taught and just give a cool example. And yeah, we get to know them and relate with them as creators in this industry. And I think that, just what's really helpful is that, like, again, that you and I know this industry. And so it sort of plays on the name, the ins and outs a little bit, because aside from just the actual like inputs and outputs, illusion there, we're talking about people's careers and like what it all took. And it feels like this kind of dance where we know how to like ask the good questions and get the most valuable information out of them. And that's really what I think we're trying to bring to people. So that's what we do from start to finish.
Definitely. And I think with a title like ours, it really leaves us room to be versatile with the guests that we bring on the show. Just because we're an audio company doesn't mean we're just going to have musicians. So many people out there require audio now, especially the world that we're living in. So it's nice to be able to branch out and have a DJ one day and then a nonprofit organization the next, So it's been really cool to have that versatility and not feel limited to one group of people or of viewers.
Totally.
Right?
One of our upcoming episodes might be released by the time this goes totally public, but we just interviewed David Kay, who's a voice talent. He's done everything from like,
what's the big one? He's Megatron.
Megatron back there was his claim to fame, but he's done like, Professor Xavier and Clank from Ratchet and Clank. Like that was really cool. To, like, they don't have to necessarily be a rock star, right? This guy has spent his whole career behind a microphone, starting in radio. And it's like that's again, like how we don't back ourselves into a corner with anything. Great
points there. So good thing to think about for if you're barely starting a podcast,
Absolutely.
So, well, we can't forget the person who makes it all come together, right? Rich Bowen, the editor of our show. Welcome, Rich.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here.
Nice to see you in front of the camera.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Definitely a change.
So, Rich, first of all, please introduce yourself to our viewers right now.
Well, my name is Rich Bowen, and I push pixels. Been with Mackie about 7 years. They brought me on to do some animated videos for NAMM that year, and they found out I do, in addition to animation, I do video, I do graphics, and they let me stick around.
Awesome. So you're the show editor. What is the role of an editor for a podcast?
In this case, it covers a lot. I'm kind of the last leg of the relay that when we are recording, I will make sure everybody's got their setup correct and, getting us the best recording they can get. I take all of those, I get them into a very complicated Adobe Premiere file. From there, I edit the interview. I may do some trimming for clarity and flow. And I always have to make sure doing that, I'm not changing the meaning of what anyone says or silencing or censoring anyone, really focusing on the message and what they are, what they're bringing to the table and what they're trying to say.
Absolutely.
So it's, I get to kind of live with these interviews for a few days and, really get deep into it, which is it's a lot of fun.
So you get the angles all good to go, and then you add some additional assets, right?
I will add, even though we are primarily an audio podcast, having that visual component, I'll take advantage. I will, if they talk about what they do, like Jason Clackley from the Vera Project, we had some great footage that he provided of what goes on there. So I was able to put that in. If you, Jamie, have asked them what celebrity should play them in a biopic, you saw Caesar Soto from Ministry comparing himself to Kim Thale. That's always a lot of fun, being able to add that extra value to it. And then from there, I take it over the finish line. I'll get it uploaded to YouTube. I will write the description. I'll even design the thumbnail images that go on our channel's page.
Absolutely. So I wanted to actually bring Rob into this question. So this show particularly, I can't even talk right now. It's the morning. Sorry. This show has both an audio and a video component. Can you speak to the importance of having both good video and good audio?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously we had to challenge ourselves, even though we're an audio company. Video is the most highly consumed, high traffic, growing form of entertainment and just web internet use lately. And so, we wanted to add a layer to doing these audio interviews and just have the video there, especially because we're connecting with people remotely. We can't be in the same room as them. So we have to be able to talk and connect and everything. Nowadays in the world with everyone's phones having these beautiful 26 megapixel cameras, everyone can have great quality video. And I think that's why we have such a boom in this creator space. And I think now people are catching on to the fact that they want to compete and add on a quality audio component, because that has lagged behind a bit. In my mind, at the end of the day, everything begins here with what we're saying. That's what you latch on to. That's what's driving this thing forward. And so people have a higher tolerance for poor video quality. If something is laggy or the resolution is poor, people will still tune in. But if the audio is bad and you can't hear them because they're too quiet, or it's too, it's harsh and abrasive, you're going to lose your audience a lot quicker. And so now people we see are really starting to invest in having a good quality audio setup. You watch a lot of YouTubers and they sound like they're, it sounds like they're in their bathroom or something, and so people are really starting to appreciate the fact that this all needs to be pleasant. And it's a balancing act. It really is. One is not more important to the other. That's why it's audio and video, right? They work together.
All great points. And, that speaks to, again, just because we are a manufacturer company of audio equipment, it doesn't mean that's why we have good audio. It's a universal, again, what do you call it?
Oh, the universal truth.
That's right. The universal truth. Yeah. Anybody can have good sound.
On that subject, we should give a shout out to our guys in tech support, Kramer and Ty. They take the audio from the episodes, which may be of varying quality, and they mix it together and get it all sounding great.
Definitely. And that's definitely speaks to, our decision on why we went post-production with this show, so that we can make sure that we're able to get in there and get it as clean as we want to make it, and add the visual assets that really go into the story, as you all saw even in the intro recap video that we put. If you guys just joined us, you can probably rewind back and check that out later on. But you'll notice that Rich adds a lot of great visuals that really go with the story, and people want to connect with other people, especially right now. So I really love that we incorporate that into our podcast personally.
Yeah, I think the video component really reinforces a lot of what we say, and like adds, just an extra layer of what's being said. And so I always appreciate that attention to detail, Rich.
Well, thanks.
For sure. And
I do also add some Easter eggs here and there, just to keep it interesting for myself.
Go on.
Well, in fact, we have a thing for Bigfoot around here, being from the Northwest. So he tends to show up in our videos a lot. So with your permission, I'd like to offer a Mackie t-shirt to anyone who can find a Bigfoot reference in one of our Ins and Outs videos.
There you go. So again, if you all go and scope out our Ins and Outs, we're on Mackie TV on YouTube. If you find a Sasquatch in any of those videos, please email podcast@mackie.com and we'll get you some swag. Again, drop in the comments, where you all from? What's the name of your podcast? Why are you joining us today? Give us some feedback, definitely. All right, Rich. Well, after you get the footage and audio looking great, what's next? How do you take it to the home plate?
Well, like I said, I get it uploaded. I write the YouTube description. And one of the fun parts, kind of a palette cleanser at the end, is I'll design the thumbnail images that we put on our channel. There's it's kind of fun how there's so much you can do. We have that template, you got the image of the person and the title. And, it can be, we'll have, the bass player from Ministry, this loud industrial band, or we'll have Justine Griffin playing violin, and, they're very tonally different. And, but I like the way we can, to be able to find visual cues to sort of suggest what they're about, but still have them all live comfortably together on our page, like a metaphor of some kind.
That's after going back and watching that video at the beginning here, Rich, it was really interesting to see how diverse these guests have been, right? Anyone from Justine to Caesar of Ministry, who otherwise have nothing in common other than like their love of music, right? And so I think that there's a lot to be said about the way we have made that feel natural, and yeah, you have such a talent for bringing out, especially in like the thumbnail images when we only have like one chance to get people to click.
Finding that one frame out of an hour-long interview
that sums it all up, right? So yeah, you have a knack for bringing out like the character of these people. And so real quick, did I hear that there's 3 Sasquatch references, or
I lost track of how many I've put in.
Okay.
And some of them are in other videos other than Ins and Outs. So if you find one elsewhere on our channel.
Zach David says, I'm tempted to add audio Easter eggs to my clients' podcast episodes, but not sure if they'd love that. Zach, drop your podcast so we can check it out. But I honestly, what do you guys think? Do you like the Easter eggs? Is that a fun extra side activity for me? I love that kind of stuff. I think it's funny when, especially if I write like the company and I feel special because maybe I'm the only one that got it, or I don't know. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, if you find if you find all 3 potential, or at least more than a total of 3 Easter eggs, let us know and we'll send you some MC350 headphones. So get to digging.
I think this is a great time to talk about our, oh, sorry, go ahead, Rich.
Oh, just saying, he's raising the stakes on us here. So get those emails in.
Yeah, see, it looks like people like the Easter egg. So I think this is a great time for takeaways, because I'm seeing some from the crowd that are funny, and I'd like to share them. Actually, this is probably like an editing thing that Rich is probably used to. But Steven says he replaces swearing with barnyard sounds just to see if people catch how much time he spends putting them in. We've had some guests, that have the, I guess you can say, potty mouth, but how do you go about that, Rich?
Well, the few times it's happened for us, I think we just left him in, but we did put a little disclaimer on one that there was some NSFW language.
Yeah, the disclaimer is also very, very good to add.
But
well, cool.
Barnyard Sounds, that's a good one. Or maybe I'll do the Good Place thing and dub in fork and shirt.
Fudge. Yeah. Like nice things.
So Zach, yeah, we're going to be doing some takeaways of the show. I'd like to hear some of your all's takeaways of your shows, podcasts in general. Maybe you've watched ours, let us know. But there's some questions. If you all have them, feel free to start dropping them in. I'll go ahead and start this going. Rob, what has been your biggest takeaway or some of your biggest takeaways working on this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many cool benefits about working on this show, especially sharing the Mackie platform with a lot of notable nonprofits and aspiring musicians. I just think for me, like the actual work and what keeps me coming back is the opportunity to, network and connect and meet with new people and keep striving for more, again, looking back at the work we've done is like, it feels like so much longer. And again, in 4 years of radio, like I think we did more and more in 4 months of doing this podcast. So it's really cool to just like apply what you've learned and keep meeting new people and reaching new challenges. Like it's cool. It keeps us busy.
Yeah, definitely. Same question for Rich. What has been some of your takeaways, Rich?
Not too different from what Rob said, that I just love having a platform where we can amplify some of these voices. And some of the people we talk to, I may not have heard of, but we've been fortunate. They all have something good and something valid and some wisdom to share. So, and sometimes that may take a bit of that editing to bring that out, but somebody comes in, they're maybe not used to being on camera, but they talk with a lot of ums and ahs. But then once you start really listening, and what they're saying is some great takeaways. So I always enjoy getting to hear some of the wisdom they bring too. Then plus it's just fun, getting to have these performances by members of Ministry or Noah Guthrie, his cover of Journey's Worlds Apart. I've been listening to that on repeat ever since we met him. Highly recommend him. Noah Guthrie.
Yeah, he was on Glee.
Yeah.
How about you, Jamie? I mean, you're the host of the show. Like, what has been some of your kind of?
Of course, same as you all. But I think most of all is we all do this, I believe, because we're all artists in some way, and sometimes we get trapped in a work mode when we're doing something we love. And when I speak to these guests, it's like you walk away and you're inspired, and it reminds you of the why you're doing it, and in that you're doing it for yourself, starting, something that you're proud of and you feel inspired to speak about. And it reminds me like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should go finish my album that I've been working on for 2 years, or, these people really get us going. And I mean, even Rich, our editor, he started a YouTube channel after feeling so inspired with one of our guests. Steve asked who some of our favorite guests have been, actually. There you go. Yeah, and I love that question. And while we're answering that, please throw it in the chat. Who have you all interviewed? I know Steven says he also interviewed David Kay, and he can do a Megatron. So Steven, you'll have to have a meeting with us later to prove that.
In common.
We'll have a Megatron off. I'm better at the original Frank Welker Megatron.
That was a lot raspier too, harder to do.
It's prime.
Yeah.
So favorite people that you've interviewed. I think maybe we can all go around and do this one real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Jamie, we'll start with you.
Oh, yeah. Man, well, we had Matt Kichi Chaos, Kifi from Trivium, which was crazy after watching him live in my teens, rock huge concerts. And then I got to see a behind the scenes performance from him, which was really cool. Mike Herrera from MXPX, again, another another musician that I grew up listening to, and he literally played live for us, and it was us three watching it. So it was such
It was surreal.
an intimate, surreal moment where I was like, "This is me. I'm here right now." So definitely that was fun. What about you, Rob?
Oh, geez. That's a great question. I mean, the ones I want to maybe not like, this isn't technically answering it, but I do want to say that when we like did the interview with Matt Heafy, he was just so like professional, and he's done this a million times. And a lot of our guests are that way, but that was really, I think, for us, a breakthrough where he jumped off the call and we were all still here as we always are. And we were like, whoa, that went really well, and I think that was just like very rewarding for us. And I think to me, the one that really has stuck with me and that I'm usually the proudest to share was Sanjay C, who, I mean, he is a musician, but also is like an influencer and equipment reviewer. He just does a lot of good in this space by educating people. And he, revealed to us how disciplined he is to get where he is, to have 200,000 subscribers. And, it's like he wakes up at 5 a.m. and commutes to work and writes music on the train, and then works a full-time job, comes home, or, does his projects, edits on the weekends, sees his wife on like whenever, he has free time. It was outstanding. And like, yeah, so I think that was the one that inspired me the most, because it's a big labor of love, and that one has resonated with me. How about you, Rich?
I mean, Sanjay, that's still kind of my number one with a bullet, just for how much great knowledge and wisdom he dropped on us. And then as a Ministry fan since about 1988. I see somebody's asking. Yes, Sanjay C. You saw him in the video, but yeah, I've been a Ministry fan since 1988. So Caesar Soto was a great get for us. And then as a cartoon and voiceover fan, it's really cool that we're branching out into that. And David K was a great one.
Absolutely. Sure. So leading off of that, we were asked who a dream guest would be. And so I'd kind of like to maybe circle around that one as well real quick.
Oh, man.
Well, I mentioned voice actors. My big one would be Rob Paulson. If you know him as the voice of Wacko from Animaniacs. And I've seen him at conventions, and he can still do the Countries of the World song just like that. That's his party trick. So if we can get him on,
that would be cool.
Would make me happy.
We haven't dove into the comedy realm yet, so I would really love to get a comedian here, going off of voice actress, maybe like a Maria Bamford, or a big loud character would be fun. Sarah Silverman. I don't know. I might be terrified to interview Sarah Silverman, but I will do it, Sarah, if you're listening. But yeah, and any comedian. And I actually, my favorite part of this show is being surprised of the guests and trying to find out more about them. So sometimes, you all show me a person that I'll be interviewing, and it's pretty much my job as the interviewer to make everyone else their biggest fan, to understand why do these people love this person. And I put myself in those shoes, and I love to just figure out, why are people so obsessed? Why does this person have over 200 million followers on YouTube? And then you find that out, and you're like, then you are their fan. And the interview is just so easy at that point, because now you're like, give me the juicy details. Because then too, we're artists and we want to learn those tricks. So I love the surprise element.
Those intros you do for our guests, a few of them have commented on what great job you do with those.
Yeah, I pride myself on that, because it's just like your job with the creating the template and even the recap videos. It's a big job to make sure that you're not offending people and you're paying respect to their craft. And I mean, don't you feel the same, Rob?
Yeah, I mean,
even the questions that we write together, we work a lot on them to make sure that we're not asking the same questions that they've been asked a million times. It's like the best thing you can do is just go and check out another guest's interviews that they've been, not to steal questions from those interviews, but to see their faces when they're asked certain questions to be like, oh, they hate being asked that, or no one's actually asked that. If you all were able to watch a recap, there was a Terry Winston from Wham who actually said, I love that question. And it's like, you feel like you hit the nail on the head right when someone says that. And you're like, okay, yes, now I'm in it. This is a perfect guest.
I mean, you obviously do an extensive amount of research before we bring a guest on. And I think that helps us understand like who these people are. And yeah, we in a way we try not to be predictable. And sometimes by watching a few of their interviews, like we know the information that's already gotten out there. So I love trying to figure out what is a question they want to be asked, because not everyone gets to that point. And sometimes I get asked questions and I answer with the answer I want to say, not the answer that was asked to me. So just be thoughtful if you do. I mean, interviews like this are a very popular format for podcasting. Like, so if that is your format, be really thoughtful about like actually relating to the person you're talking to and like, getting to the real juicy parts.
I totally agree. Earlier, I can't remember who asked, but someone had asked, what were some of our favorite questions that we ask in our interviews? Yeah, there we go. Steven, what's a favorite question to ask guests when doing interviews? So our format, Rob kind of covered it in the beginning, but we kind of go through like, the beginnings. We dive into, the nitty gritty of their program or what they're supporting or their current album. We get into some audio talk, but then we also get into like a fun segment just to kind of relax people and take them away from like the heavy topics sometimes that we get into, or to pull them completely away from their art and kind of catch them off guard. And we do prompt people, before we do the interview and ask, are you cool that we ask you some fun one-off questions, and none of these questions are inappropriate, of course. We're very careful when we choose them. So we've had a lot of fun ones that are my favorite, and gosh, they're all going through my head now. But I always love to ask people what their hidden talents are. So we've had some people showing us some fun hidden talents. Matt Keefe did a mouth trumpet one.
I like the question about your favorite mythical creature.
We ask what their favorite mythical creature is.
Unicorns or dragons, but Matt Heafy, he came up with this Japanese water demon. It's no Orochi, I think it was.
Oh, that was
probably angling it, but
yeah, that's the thing is like when I think we catch a lot of people off guard with that one, but that wasn't like actually one of the things we're like, yeah, like this was really unique and something that we might not have heard about if we didn't ask that question.
Definitely. But yeah, we try to mix them up, and it's fun to ask the same ones to different types of people, because a lot of the times you'll see a similar response or a response that totally catches you off guard and you're like, what? Okay. Yeah. Like, for example, Sanjay, we know that he is really good at adjusting his curtains just perfectly. Which I'm sure he would never mention in his YouTube channel. And it's cool because then the people that support them get to come and watch our podcast and find their favorite person caught off guard, and to hear like these side stories that maybe they've never shared on their personal channels, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so speaking of questions, guys, we're here for another 20-ish minutes. So please, anyone here participating, this is your time at Podcast Movement. Let us know your questions and anything you want to know about how we pull this off. And also this episode will be live later on the Mackie TV YouTube channel. So if you're watching this after the fact, leave your questions in the comments. Let us know who you want to see on the podcast, what you want us to get around to. If you'd like us to do a full live episode and, just totally public, that'd be great too. But yeah, ask away.
I see one from Ty here. What type of microphones are we all using?
So being from Mackie, yeah, you would hope that we are using our wonderful gear, as we all are. I'm actually using a Mackie condenser mic, our EM91C, and I pair that with a mixer, a 12-channel ProFX 12V3 mixer. You all can check out Ty and Brad's live sessions on routing and all that, but that's what I rock. And Rob, what about you?
Yeah,
same. Similar.
Same here. It's the EM91C, the original condenser mic we launched earlier this year, which there is a USB counterpart that just came out, the EM91CU. But yeah, I haven't upgraded to carbon or anything like that. This one, and I got the pop filter here, the nice little metal pop filter. Yeah, it's treating me well. Rich, I feel like you're in the same boat. I think we all
I've got the 91C as well. I have an EM USB here as a backup. I'm going into an Onyx Blackjack 1.2 over here, and then even though it's discontinued, I've got a Pro DX4 that I think we made around 2016.
Oh, that's a goodie.
Yeah, that all my computer audio is coming out of that, and I can send it to my speakers. I've got the Mackie CR series monitors, or I can send it out to my MC 350 headphones. So
Nice.
I'm loaded here.
We have great headphones too. I know we have a lot of winners in the crowd. So I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback on your prizes that you won. Cause like the headphones as a podcaster, you know that these things live on your head for hours and hours. And there's a lot of fatigue that you can get. And these things I can just wear all day and not feel uncomfortable. The pop filter, as well as Rob mentioned, is actually hydrophobic. So it'll catch any saliva. It's perfect for those pops and those peas. And if you don't have a mixer, it'll actually help eliminate a lot of that. And of course, your boom arm, which I love because it really clears out your space, especially if you're someone who's doing like a live giveaway. And you, like right now, I have a bunch of stuff on my desk, but I'm able to, stack it up around because that boom arm really saves you a lot of space.
I wonder if the hydrophobic pop filter is dishwasher safe. A lot of these pop filters are like mesh and like fabricy, and they get like gross over time, or they I love how sturdy it is. But yeah, so I'm actually curious, everyone watching, like what your rig is, because we just went over, we all have like a different thing we're tying this into, whether it's the Blackjack or the Pro FX. I have an interface, like just a traditional one. So, guys, let us know what you're working with. If there's any gear perhaps that you like is like a dream ask from Mackie, because there's a lot of ways to do it. And while I love the convenience of mic interface, boom arm, all at your desktop, I really do miss like the community aspect of podcasting and broadcasting, and would love, once this whole thing is over, for us to be able to put together, a podcast setup. Like that's always, to me, the funnest part is like getting people in a room and talking. It's great that we can do this here, but that's the nice thing about the mixers. Like we could have 8 people or more talking at once.
Definitely. Yeah, looks like we have some comments. Zach, yes, your headphones are comfy. Everyone who won headphones, any Mackie headphones are so comfortable. I don't want to tell you all this, but I'm gonna, because I have really big ears actually under all this hair. And so I need big headphones. And so these ones just fit right perfectly. I have my grandfather's ears, unfortunately, but they fit so perfectly. And I'm so grateful that I can use them to hide those ears.
I learned that go ahead, Rich.
Well, just that, my hearing is pretty much shot, too many concerts in my 20s without earplugs. And yet, I could hear the difference with Mackie headphones.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like even to my useless ears, everything comes through crystal clear. It's beautiful.
Totally. That's the thing that I think I've really just enjoyed, not to suck up or anything, but like, a lot of this stuff has really reminded me like why I love music and sound in this industry to begin with, because like for the longest time I've just had like $8 earbuds that I just pick up, and I don't really like concern myself too much with the audio quality. But when I want to listen to something and like truly appreciate it, I love using our stuff for that, and just like setting aside time for that. And also, I've learned to love the open back headphones, especially when you're working from home and like you've got your significant other in the other room and like deliveries coming. Like these, being able to hear the room has been a blessing these last few months, man.
You mean you can't pretend that you can't hear someone when they're talking to you anymore?
This is an interesting question that comes from our good friend Ralph Quintero, and it's, how did you guys get into the audio industry? Yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit more about those qualifications in the background, because I do think that a lot of us come together in a very complementary way here.
For sure. Yeah, I can go ahead and start that. Well, I am a musician outside of being a podcaster. Actually, the podcasting is more new to me than anything else. I've been a musician for, if you can believe, about 20 years now. And so I started with that and dove into sound right away. And I've been performing in bands. I'm a cellist, kind of a multi-instrumentalist. So I've dabbled in many different areas in the music field. I worked at a music store for 10 years. I'm from El Paso, Texas. So I worked in Texas for 10 years at a store. And then I got picked up to work with Mackie at a NAMM actually in 2017 and moved down to Austin, covered South Central for a bit. And then I knew that my ultimate goal was that I wanted to work at Mackie's headquarters, which is in Bothell, Washington. And here I am now. I mean, I'm not literally at headquarters, but I've actually hit 2 years here being with Mackie's team as the lead field product specialist and now the host of this wonderful show. So that's how I got into it.
How about you, Rich?
I mean, like I said, I'm a video guy. I've been doing video since before digital was a thing. And, video and audio, of course, they go together closely. Did some kind of spent some time doing design jobs, doing motion design, graphics, that kind of thing. That was kind of my back door into Mackie, that they didn't know that I shot and edited video in addition to working in After Effects. So, like I said, they let me stick around. And Rob, how about you?
Very good. And we're glad to have you.
Some of the stories you've shared.
Oh man, I can date back like my music interest, because I wasn't like into music until Apple released the iPod Video, which was like 0405. I can like literally, I bought the thing and I had like 7 songs on it. I had like no musical taste or interest. And so from there, it was just like took off. And, I played in like punk rock bands with my friends and stuff in high school. And as mentioned, like I was a video guy like you, Rich. And for whatever reason, I just thought like radio would be a fun hobby, and I just totally learned to love it. And that was like really my big thing, and what I became known for at school, was like, despite wanting to be a filmmaker. And so
everybody I've known who did college radio lived at the station.
Oh yeah, like the family aspect of it's just like totally different. So and what's weird is like I did a film and it showed out here in Seattle, and then I just decided I wanted to move here, and it's like really serendipitous that audio found me again. And so I'm here at Mackie, and it's like, I don't know, man, I can't escape it. so that's how we got here today. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Drop in the comments. What did you all do before you got into podcasting? Or maybe that's what you've been doing all along. Looks like we have a few minutes, and I think this is a good time to probably ask for any final questions. I invite you to check out Mackie TV on YouTube to subscribe, because a lot of those prizes that are out there, we have a lot of how-tos on how to get them set up, more information about the mics and the monitors. I even tell you how to set up your monitors. So if you want monitors, check that out, along with the subwoofer. So you can head over to Mackie TV on YouTube and subscribe. We have a Made on Mackie series, which is where you'll find all those how-to videos, along with a quick tech tutorial videos segment. So a lot of great information there. And then, of course, our Ins and Outs podcast with Mackie. So check that out, which is what we're talking about here today. So we thank you all for joining us again. If this is your first time, we're so happy to be here. This was our first time at Podcast Movement. So excited to check it out. Make sure you all scope out Bradley and Tyler's sessions. You can go catch up on those. They'll talk about how to get set up, how to even choose your equipment for your podcast. And yeah, without further ado, Rob, you think this is a good time for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just, again, one more time, thank you all for the warm welcome. We shared a lot of educational material before this and had, good productive seminars. Please stay in touch with Mackie. I think we made a lot of new connections and friendships here with people. And that's important to me.
Comments.
Yeah, it's really cool because, again, we were traditionally and have been and are a live sound company, but now we really are passionate about getting in touch with these creators, and we're not going to slow down our presence here.
You all were so awesome. So again, thank you all for joining us today. I don't think we have anything else we need to add, do we, Rich or Rob?
If we have a minute, I do just want to take some time. You mentioned the quick tech and some of the other videos.
Yes.
A lot of that, like you guys in product or some of the tech support guys, basically started those from scratch. That I am no longer the only video asset, but you guys have just been crushing it with those.
Yeah, shout out,
hosting and editing.
Shout out to our product team who, you guys really showed up when we needed you, because we've been doing so much video content creation in this podcast. It's been it's been a crazy year for everybody, and I think we're all just so happy to be here. And as always, Mackie on Facebook, Mackie Gear on Twitch and Instagram and Twitter, Mackie TV on YouTube. Come find us. We're not hard to find. Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you all. Thank you, Stephen. We loved being here and having fun with you all. Stephen says, one of the few exhibitors that made the whole process fun. So I had a blast getting to know some of you all. Message us. We're all available for any questions on the product or even about our show or what we do. So again, thank you to Rob and Rich for spending time with us today. I'm Jamie Hernandez, the host of the Ins and Outs with Mackie podcast, which is a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We bring you musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid. If you're new to Mackie, please head over to our Mackie TV on YouTube and subscribe to get all the latest Mackie updates as soon as they are out. Until next time, Mackoids.